right, we got a special question here. This kind of throws a little curveball into it, but this is a question that I think Sam can answer. But what is the function of subject-verb agreement? So I guess we're kind of doing English a little bit.
Yeah.
But why is it useful? What is the function of subject-verb agreement, and why is it useful?
Definitely. And Jeff, I know you weren't here, but I'm now answering English questions in addition to science.
All right, awesome.
So that's new, and yeah, I'm excited to answer this. This is kind of basic, but really, really key. So if we could jump to my screen, I'm just gonna explain this using some text. So subject-verb agreement, I guess I'm gonna explain what it is. The question, why is it useful? We'll get to that maybe in a minute. Maybe it's not useful, but this is what it is. So a subject, typically we think of a subject in a sentence as sort of the actor in the sentence. That's not a perfect way to define what a subject is. The subject is the one performing whatever the verb is, or doing whatever the verb is doing. And in many cases, maybe you wouldn't think of it as an actor, but an actor is an easy way to think of it. And then the verb is going to be whatever action that actor is doing. A verb can also be a state of being that the actor is in, and so there's a few verbs that hit a little better there that don't seem like actions. When we talk about agreement, we're talking about agreement in terms of one or two things. We either need to agree, or we both need to agree in terms of person, and we need to agree in terms of number. So I'll just really quickly go through some examples, varying the person and the number, so you can see what I mean, see how this works. And before I do that, I'll just mention this is something that all native speakers of English do naturally. Now, that's not to say there might be a few instances where native speakers get into a habit of doing something where maybe they're incorrectly agreeing subject with verbs. But for the most part, native speakers of any language do a great job of having verbs and subjects agree in their language. And that's sort of the reason why when you ask the question, is it useful? Well, is it useful for somebody? If you speak the language fluently and you are able to operate in the world that you need to operate in without being able to explain how your language works, I think that's perfectly fine on some level. But I mentioned yesterday that when I learned Spanish, I learned a lot about English grammar, and I would just say that understanding this stuff really enriches my experience using English and seeing English. So anyways, I'll just quickly go through a few examples right here. So one example of person would be first person. And I've got here first person singular and first person plural. So I'll just do some, again, quick examples. So first person is I. So I am the first person, singular at least. And so I might say like I, and I'm just going to keep this real. I'm just going to go with what we did yesterday. I eat pie. It was pie day yesterday, and we're just going to keep it easy because I think we need to meet some Vikings. I eat pie. I is the subject, first person. Eat is the verb. I eat totally agrees, and we'll see why that is in just a second. First person plural, we would have, so plural versus singular, you have one person versus multiple people. So to change first person from singular to plural, we change from the pronoun I to we. So we would say we eat pie. You'll notice that the form eat is the same for I and we. And in fact, in English, most of the time, the verb agrees with all forms of the subject. And we'll see one example where it doesn't here. So if I change to second person, singular, second person, as you might have guessed already, second person is you. And I don't even need to change the verb. You eat pie is totally correct grammar. You agrees with eat. Second person plural. Actually, second person plural in English is also just you, although sometimes we say like y'all. We don't really say y'all. Some people say it. I mean, excuse me. But you might say it, right? Because you're referring to not just you, one person, but to you or you guys, you could say. But in English, a lot of times, again, we can say you and have it mean you as in a group of people or you as in a singular person. So I'll have it be y'all here, but y'all eat pie. You'll notice that the form eat stays exactly the same. We've still got agreement here. When we go into third person, singular is where we see the verb need to change to agree. So third person singular would be he or she. In this case, I guess I'll go with she. But if you say she eat pie, you just don't quite sound right, like something is wrong there. Folks who speak English fluently should know that what this should say is she eats pie. And so this is evidence in English that we do need to have subjects and verbs agree. Third person plural would be like they, right? So we could say, and again, the form eat fits with they. Now there are other verbs. There are some special verbs in the English language that change form in each person. So for example, the verb to be right? We say I am, you are, he is, we are, y'all are, they are, right? So there are some verbs in English that change more frequently based on, in order to agree with the person and number of the subject. But I'll just throw out there, in other languages, like for example Spanish, which I speak, you need to change the verb to agree with each of the person and number changes that can occur, each of the different types of subjects that you can have. So anyways, hopefully that was a little bit of a quick view on what subject-verb agreement is. Again, is it useful? Yeah, it's useful if you want to make sure that you're writing correctly, if you want to make sure that you're using good grammar. But again, most native speakers of English do this naturally. So I don't know how useful it is for you.
Yeah, I think with this, maybe like you can get your point across being grammatically incorrect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the interesting thing about grammar is how much a little thing can just totally change the meaning of a sentence, right?
Sure.
Not so much with this. Like if you say she eat pie, then
But
it
think
just
about it,
sounds
if you
bad.
said she eat pie, you know, if it was like you're sending, I don't know why you would ever say this in like an email, but let's say you were sending an email to somebody and the communication mattered, right? Somebody might lose a little bit of respect for you
Right.
if they think that you can't
Yeah.
communicate in that kind of a way. And so, you know, grammar is like so many other things, like a key to getting toward where you want to be. And it's one of those, it's like,
Right.
it's an important tool to get what you want in this world.
Right. Yeah.